Thanks very much, Catherine. I just want to say that we're happy to support the motion. I just want to thank our colleagues in the Labour Party as well for bringing this forward. I was delighted to hear the Minister mention the autism strategy. Sometimes I wonder whatever happened to that. People probably will remember and are probably not shocked that I'm going to bring up that 2 years ago, exactly on World Autism Day in 2019, we did have a motion that I had brought forward, and it was passed unanimously in the Dáil to develop an autism strategy, and that is so important. You know, it's been missing from this country for a long time. Now, I will say that it was my understanding, and it still is, that we were supposed to have a committee, an Oireachtas committee, in place for about 6 months to look at the issue so that there could actually be hearings in public in relation to consultation. And I think that's really important that that still does take place, because that is the way forward. I think one of the ways forward, one step, and let's just say it is only one step and one small step. The issue of autism, you know, I think all of us are contacted on a regular basis by various families who are struggling, who maybe have a child who they believe might have autism. They're going through the process of waiting for an assessment, or maybe they've just received that assessment. And I don't think we can say it often enough that absolutely everything that has to be done is a battle. And that is just completely wrong. And I feel like, you know, when you describe something as a crisis, it's fine to describe it as a crisis if it's happening for a certain short period of time and it was unforeseen. This is happening for years now in this country, so we can't describe it as a crisis. We know this is happening. We know that children who have autism, who cannot get an ASD class, who maybe can get an ASD class, but it's miles away from their home, they can't get transport, and you have to actually question, you know, how fair and how realistic it is to ask a child to be taking a really long bus journey to and from school every single day. That's not, you know, we know this is happening. It's children, I believe firmly, and I really strongly believe in this, that children who are diagnosed with autism are treated as second-class citizens. They can't get, you know, the services that they need: speech and language, occupational therapy, class places, school transport, additional help in school. You know, it's totally wrong and unfair that maybe it's based on, you might meet somebody on the day that is willing to listen and be on board and, you know, be a help and support to people. And you will often find people will say, only for such a person. Like, we have an excellent social worker in Kilkenny that is involved with the early intervention team, and time again people say to me, only for this person, they would be lost. And it shouldn't be based on that. It should be based on, these are rights that people have and they need to be respected. And I don't know how many debates we have to have in here for people to realise, and for the government to realise. And I know, and I actually agree with the point that Deputy Sherlock made in relation to yourself, Minister. I genuinely believe you want to do the right thing and have been trying to do the right thing. But we really need to see action. We can't have the waiting lists, first of all, for the assessment, and then you go on to a waiting list for occupational therapy, physiotherapy, speech and language, and parents are literally tearing their hair out trying to do their best for the children. And then you got to the stage where, you know, an ASD preschools, we very rarely talk about them because they're so rare. We have one ASD preschool for the whole of the county of Kilkenny, that's city and county. It's absolutely, you know, totally unacceptable. And then you get into school, there's a battle there. Then you go on to secondary school, you know, a real serious battle. And to get extra additional help maybe for exam time, you have to have a diagnosis on paper. There's also an issue where some people might have a certain diagnosis on paper, they're in mainstream school, then that's not suiting. They have to go back to the drawing board, go back to step one all over again to get a different diagnosis, maybe to get into an ASD class or an ASD school. You know, like, it's not rocket science. There is so many groups and so many parents and so many people that can actually tell us how to do this, how to do it correctly. And that's why the autism empowerment strategy is so important, and it works so well in other countries. And we need to start looking at that, and we need to start ensuring. I didn't even get a chance to touch on the adult services, but that's another battle. When you go from, you know, maybe school age into adult services, if you are lucky to have an adult service in your area that you can access. So there is a huge job of work to do, and I think it's good that we're having the debate, and I really hope that we see some action from it. Thanks, Catherine.